Grace and peace to you today. I hope that you and your family are continuing to stay safe and stay well. Thank you so much for stopping by and for sharing these few moments of inspiration and encouragement with me. I am sure you could hear the waves in the background. I'm sure you can hear the effects of the wind blowing through the trees. Every now and again, you would hear some birds singing or a vehicle passing. Make no mistake about it, this is an absolutely beautiful day. And we thank God for this day. This is the day that He has made, and we rejoice and we are glad in it. Well, these continue to be some interesting days. Hey, I mean, just as we were beginning to think that the worst is over, that we could breathe a sigh of relief and begin to plan our next steps, suddenly there is this huge spike in coronavirus cases. And we're back to the lockdowns, back to the curfews. We're back to square one, so it seems. And remember, we're in hurricane season 2, and that is always cause for concern. What a time we're living in. What a time. Time. Now, that's something we could talk about. Time. Some people wish that time would speed up. They say, man, I wish this coronavirus pandemic would hurry up and be over and done with. Then there are those who wish they had more time to do certain things. I mean, who doesn't wish every now and again to have an extra hour sleep in the mornings? Or who doesn't wish to have a few extra days on that vacation? Or which student writing an exam wouldn't wish for a few extra minutes? Time. Then there are those individuals who can very easily lose track of time. It happens to all of us every now and then. We're watching television, or we are going through our social media feeds, or we are engrossed in a conversation on our phones. And then we look at the clock, we look at the time, and we wonder, where did the time go? Now, we probably will not agree on a lot of things about time, but there are a couple of things that we can agree on. First, we can agree that these have been interesting, unusual, and uncertain times. We all can agree to that. No matter who you are, no matter where you are, no matter how you have been or are being impacted by the coronavirus pandemic, the pandemic has put us on a road in life that we have never been on before and that we never imagined we would ever have to travel. So we can agree that these have been interesting, unusual, and uncertain times. We can also agree that everyone has the same amount of time. Everyone has 60 minutes in their hour. Everyone has 24 hours in their day. Everyone has 365, or in the case of this year, 366 days in the year. Whether you're rich or poor, whether you are black or white, whether you are living in Antarctica or living in the Sudan, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. The truth is, the amount of time is not as important as what you do with the time you have. Which leads me to another point. You will agree with me, I am sure, that time is precious. So we should spend it wisely. In other words, make good use of the time. Many of you have been doing exactly that. Baking and cooking, sewing and gardening, cleaning and reorganizing, writing and composing, creating, innovating, reflecting, connecting, networking. Some of which, by the way, we thought we didn't have time for before the pandemic started. You see how good can come out of bad experiences? You see, if we allow them, even bad experiences and negative or painful situations can teach us something good and can bring out the best in us. I know that sounds crazy, right? But you already know that that is true. That if we allow them, even our bad experiences, even our negative and painful situations can teach us something good and can bring out the best in us. I am reminded of what the wise man, the preacher, Solomon says in Ecclesiastes chapter 3, the first 11 verses. He says, "There is a time and a season for every activity under heaven. A time to born, a time to die, a time to plant, and a time to uproot, a time to kill, and a time to heal, a time to tear down, and a time to build up, a time to weep, and a time to laugh, a time to mourn, and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones, and a time to gather them, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search, and a time to give up, a time to keep, and a time to throw away, a time to tear down, and a time to mend, a time to be silent, and a time to speak, a time to love, and a time to hate, a time for war, and a time for peace. What do workers gain from their toil? I have seen the burden God has laid on the human race." And he concludes by saying, "Yet God makes everything beautiful in his time." Did you get that last sentence? Yet God makes everything beautiful in his time. What's the point of this passage? What's the point of what Solomon is trying to say? In a time and a season for everything and every activity under heaven? Here's the point. If you can see through the eyes of God, then we would have a totally different picture about life. A life where God is weaving together the good and the bad, where he is weaving together the beautiful and the ugly, where he is weaving together the pain and the pleasure, the successes and the failures, and he is bringing them all together to make something beautiful and meaningful in our lives. It's like making soup or baking cake. You know, you've got to put all of these different ingredients in, and some of those ingredients on their own have an unpleasant or a bitter taste, but together it combines into something that's wonderful, beautiful. Yes, during this season in our world and in our lives, We will be faced with setbacks and disruptions. We will be inconvenienced. There are things that we have no control over. But we do get to decide how we spend our time. We do have control over what we do with the time we have. I want to encourage you to continue making good use of your time. Take time to learn and to read. Take time to discover new things, to enjoy the company of others. Take time to laugh. Take time to watch a good movie. Take time to rest. Take time to pray. Take time to play. Take time to care for yourself. And take time for God. Take time for God. Get to know Him better in these days. Take time to worship Him. Take time to rest in Him. Take time to absorb the fact that He loves you, that He cares about you, that in spite of our circumstances, He has our best interests at heart. William Lloyd wrote a beautiful song, and it says, "My times are in your hands. My God, I leave them there. My life, my friends, my soul, I leave entirely in your care. My times are in your hands. Whatever they may be, pleasing or painful, dark or bright, as best may seem to thee. My times are in your hands. Why should I doubt or fear? My Father's hands will never cause His child a needless tear. My times are in your hands. Jesus the crucified, those hands my cruel sins had pierced, are now my guard and guide. Blessings on you today. I encourage you to keep making good use of your time. And remember, God is good all the time. And all the time, God is good.
God is good all the time. Put a song of praise in this heart of mine. God is good all the time. Through the darkest night, His light will shine. God is good. God is good.